This is Correct Paperwork and Play, 2013 by Tony Swain. I don't know why Tony called it Correct Paperwork and Play. I think I had some discussions with him about titling. I don't think there's any clear narrative there or anything. I think it is a more poetic title. Tony, like Louise Hopkins, or similar I should say to Louise, paints on found surfaces. So rather than looking at a white piece of paper, board or canvas, or a solid background and inventing completely out of that, a little bit like Louise, he finds this other image which inspires him to go on and make something out of it. Tony only works with the Guardian newspaper, and I'm sure he said to me that one of the reasons for that is, and I hadn't thought about it till he said it, but the Guardian has some of the best photographs in the newspaper world, some really good photography, quite artfully done, which is quite inspirational. And of course the Guardian is a nice liberal paper too, which is another good reason to use it. You can see in this work, as I look closely at it, I can see that the text is running this direction, and he has painted, and there's some faces here, but I can see shoulders, I see a neck there, but he's painted the face out, he's obliterated the face, although there's some caps on them. They almost look like stewardesses or something from this angle, but I'm not completely sure. And then he's done this, he plays around with space, Tony does. I think you often get a feeling of almost like a fly-through, like you've flown into this other world, this other place of his imagination, that he takes us into it. When I was in Tony's studio, he's got stacks and stacks of the Guardian newspaper all around him. And again, I think that he does quite a lot of paintings, so this would be selected from a much larger group of paintings as being the one. He has 2 paintings in the show, so he'd probably be very careful, because important show for all these artists where they're showing with their peers, and so he'd probably be very, very careful about which painting he put forward to be in the show. He's had a solo show at the Fruit Market in Edinburgh in recent years. He works through the Modern Institute in Glasgow, who show and sell his work. Another thing about it that relates a little bit to Andrew Kerr, because it's always interesting in this show to think about how some of the painters relate and how do they maybe differ. There's a relationship to Louise, as I talked about in Found Surfaces, but also a relationship to Andrew, in this, and even more so with Tony, in the sense that he has this very ephemeral, light touch to how it's shown. He doesn't want it framed. Andrew's on the other side have nails through them. This is even lighter, but of course he can do that because the sheet of newspaper is so light. So it has this very, very light presence compared to Hannelina Vishnas right next door, to this painting. They're made of wood. They're heavy. They're on batons. They have a strong, heavy presence on the wall. This is light and ephemeral and quite ethereal in the way that it is here. It borders on not being here. Historically, artists would frame works, sometimes glaze them, although sometimes the problem with glazing is that it can reflect so much that you don't get to see the viscosity of the paint. But the other reason for framing works, and glazing them I suppose, is it does protect them, so that as that work is moved about or put in storage, it's got more protection. Tony would be more than aware that this doesn't have that. But that's part of the concept for him, I think, is that it has this delicacy. Nothing lasts forever. We don't last forever. Even the Mona Lisa, it won't last forever. Or, a work on canvas, it's much more robust to light. This might fade from light exposure over time. Oil on canvas tends to be, it can take higher light levels, but even over many, many hundreds of years, that too will fade. So perhaps it's a statement on that. Go ahead and make your painting oil on canvas. Yes, it will be around longer, but what is time anyway? It becomes quite philosophical. This is going to be around a shorter time. What's a few hundred years compared to millions of years? So it's all debatable.